This week, I have been mainly standing on one leg. I've also been slow squatting with the weight and indulging in the unique agony of foam rollering my quadriceps. What I've absolutely not been doing is riding my bike. The rehab and recovery process for the getting back to fitness after chemotherapy for prostate cancer has come to a grinding and shuddering halt. I am being forced to rest, which is absolutely my least favourite thing. It would seem that I have something called Gluteal Tendinopathy, at least that's what two separate physios think. It's characterised quite simply by a massive pain in the ass. It's actually pain down the outside of the pelvis. Quite severe pain at times, I have to say. I don't particularly want to go on about my burden, but it's not been pleasant. I've had a number of tests, been to see a couple of physios, as I say, and that is the diagnosis. You are looking at a whole series of specific exercises to get over it. I've had a flare-up with it, I think, which is what's got me off the bike. So maybe a week or 10 days off the bike and then I can gradually get back on. But it is a literal and metaphorical pain in the butt. And to make matters worse, it's pretty much all my fault, I think. To bastardise the lyrics of the venerable special song, I think what I've done effectively is too much, too soon. Okay, well, before we reflect a little further on the ocean-going, fur-lined, 5-star steaming shambles that is my combat training programme, let's concentrate on something a little happier. On a recent sunny Sunday, I went out on my bike when I was still riding onto the Ruta del Carrilet. Now, this is a disused railway line which has been lovingly converted into a top-class cycling facility. It's an absolute model of how to do these things. And if you think, like I do, that the bicycle makes the world a better place, then hanging out here for a few minutes and seeing people enjoying it can only bring joy to your heart. Another one of my hobbies and interests is brewing beer. Bikes and beer, hey, great combination. And beer is what's going on right here. See, making beer is a process that requires lots of patience. There's a number of predetermined steps. In goes the grist. And if you're going to get the best outcome, which is a nice drinkable beer, in this case a crisp, dry German Pilsner, then you've got to follow the process and you've got to be patient. And I think that is what I am finally beginning to understand about my rehab and recovery. I think I've been quite good at following the process. I think I've been a really, really rubbish about being patient. A good brewer will weigh and measure the ingredients in a precise fashion. Then there's testing. Honestly, there is more tech involved in brewing, I think, than even in cycling. And all the testing is, of course, important, as are the ingredients. And I think the parallel with me is, well, the ingredients, mainly in the legs, just aren't high quality enough at the moment to sustain the expectations that I have. Well, coming up nicely to the boil now, but as you can maybe see behind me, it looks like there's a storm building up behind the mountains. Sometimes I get trapped there and never arrive, but sometimes they do. Could give me a few problems completing the brew, but you can always get over problems, eh? Well, I'm going to explain now why I didn't really want the storm to come. I'm very pleased with this project. I do love a project, and I think this one's been very successful. So the thing is, with brewing, after you've finished boiling your wort, which is unfermented beer, you've got to cool it down really quickly. And there has been, not now, but there has been a huge drought in Catalonia. So kind of pumping water through the wort, which is the quickest way of cooling it, and then letting that water disappear is not a good idea. So what I have here down at the bottom of the swimming pool is a submersible pump. And then I pump the water through here, through these yellow pipes, and into this copper coil, which is currently submerged in the wort. You can see the inlet and outlet there, and the wort is still boiling. But as you would have noticed, my pipes aren't quite long enough. So what I really need to do is get the whole kind of brewing setup out from the rain protection under the garage door and bring it closer to the tubes. And that is why I didn't want the storm to come. And very, very happily, even though it's kind of murky over there, that the storm has held off. So, happy days. Okay, final stage. Turn the pump on. And we are pumping wort into the fermentation vessel, which will slowly fill up with about, 28 maybe litres of wort, which is going to make me something around 26, 27 litres of beer. Pretty successful brewing day. That is turned out nicely, actually. Hit all my numbers, which means I've made the beer, or I will have made the beer that I set out to make. So, yeah. I tried to draw parallels, may have stretched a few points here and there between my current predicament and brewing beer, but I think the main points are that they're both a process and they both require patience. And while I'm very patient in brewing beer, I've not been so patient on my rehab and recovery, and that's what I need to do. I need to be more patient. So I'm going away to be patient. Okay, well, patience is a fine word, isn't it? What does it actually mean in my case? Well, I think the main thing that it probably means is that I need to reset expectations. I've just been expecting too much too soon, and as a consequence, I've done too much too soon. So I think my expectations were way too high when I set off on this venture, and that chimes with my history, because my entire life, one thing I've absolutely excelled at is my mind writing checks that my body struggles to cash. And of course, as the years mount up, then the checks get bigger and the encashment gets lower. So expectation resetting, that definitely needs to take place. This is just going to take longer than I thought it might have done, or that I might have hoped. It's a question of just going a bit easier. You know, it's as simple as that. For those that recognise it in cycling, zone 2, the blue zone, where you're not really out of breath, to be honest, you're just plugging away. That's where I need to be. Heart rate nice and low, longer and longer rides, and if you're tired, have a day off. I mean, that's just the way it's got to be. So yeah, this is not impossible, this venture. It's not impossible. Cheers. That's good.